Welcome and thank you for standing by. At this time, all participants are in listen-only mode until the question and answer session of today's call. During the discussion, you will be able to ask a question through the chat portion. At the end of the discussion, you'll be able to ask a question over the phone line. At that point, if you'd like to ask a question, please press star and then 1. This call is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this point. Now we'll turn the meeting over to your host, Linda Lee. You may begin.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Linda Lee, and I want to welcome everyone to the Exploring Census Data webinar series. This is our 4th installment of the series where we bring you monthly webinars based on popular topics. Our webinars are presented in a format where we include real-life use cases and the opportunity for Q&A at the end of each session. And if you would like to view it again, we offer recordings and transcripts of our past webinars on our site, typically between 5 to 10 business days after the live session. So please note, we are utilizing technology off-site to continue operations, and we aim to minimize interruptions as much as possible. We appreciate your patience. If we experience any technical delays, please utilize the chat feature to notify us of any issues should any arise, and we will do our best to address and mitigate them. Today's webinar on how Americans spend leisure time is the 4th in our series for this year. And today we have 2 speakers ready to dive into leisure activities and the availability of business data related to these activities. Let's take a quick look at what we will be covering today. I'll start off with a high-level overview about the Census Bureau. Then I'll pass the presentation over to our first speaker, Ms. Melvina Brown. Melvina is an IT specialist for our economic programs. She will be guiding you through case studies, which entails data from multiple business programs. Then our next speaker is Mr. Adam Grundy. Adam is a supervisory survey statistician from our economic program side of the house. He will be presenting information from our programs called the County Business Patterns, the Non-Employer Statistics, the Economic Census, the Annual Business Survey, and showcasing the Annual Survey of Manufacturers. Now, in addition to learning about the data that are available, Adam and Melvina will be demonstrating how to access the data on the Census Business Builder and other data tools as well. And at the end of the presentations, we will close out with a Q&A session. The Census Bureau is the federal government's largest of the 17 primary statistical agencies where we conduct over 130-plus surveys each year. Now, listed on this slide are some of our well-known surveys that you may be familiar with. Most people are familiar with the population and housing count of the annual census taking place every 10 years. Next, the American Community Survey. It is an annual survey on the nation's population. And the Economic Census is our most comprehensive program for business data, taking place every 5 years in the years ending in 2 and 7. And the Census of Government is the public sector's counterpart of the Economic Census. Now, in addition to these surveys, there are more than 30 household surveys and over 60 economic programs. So when you have a moment, I highly encourage you to check out census.gov to learn about the other surveys that we conduct and the types of data that may interest you. This slide shows the relationship between the frequency of data releases and the level of details. In general, the more timely the data, the less details. With the Economic Census at the bottom of the pyramid because it takes place every 5 years, and it is the most comprehensive data source when it comes to business data. Now, as you move up the pyramid, the data are released more frequently with less detail. Now, for today's webinar, we will be featuring data from the bottom and the middle parts of the pyramid. With that being said, with over 130-plus surveys that we conduct, I highly encourage you to check out our site, census.gov, where you can explore and discover endless possibilities. And now I would like to turn it over to my colleague, Ms. Melvina Brown.
Thank you, Linda. As Linda stated, my name is Melvina Brown, and Adam Grundy and I are going to take you through using some of the Census's surveys, its programs, and data tools. And if you were an entrepreneur, it might be something that you would use to assist in making better decisions about your business potential. There are several programs and tools that can be used by the public to access census data. Here are some of the ones from easiest to more difficult, and I'll mention a little about some of these. With Quick Facts, a user can view and download the data. My congressional district, users can view statistics which covers age, employment, education, and much more about a specific congressional district. For the Census Business Builder, or CBB, it offers small business owners selected Census Bureau research for opening or expanding their business. With the COVID-19 Data Hub, it gives us a better understanding of the potential impact of the corona pandemic. And the COVID-19 Data Hub has been a key repository for much of this data. Data.census.gov is our website, and it can improve the customer's experience, making data available from one centralized place. Now, this data gives the user they'll spend less time searching for the data and the content and more time using it. The link at the bottom of the page shows where you can find all of the census data tools. So, let's see how the following steps in starting a business might work. Now, this is an oversimplified chart of the key steps to opening a small business. In step one, of course, you're thinking about your ideas of a business. What do you have in mind? What do you think you might want to do? In step two, we'll see how census data can help a small business with market research, which is very important. In step three, we're going to be looking at location information using census tools. Now, we will not be focusing on census funding, as that info was shown at a previous webinar, and you can refer back to it for more information. As you can imagine, entrepreneurs will take periodic loops back and forth from ideation until step 4 when they actually open a business. Just going back and forth until they've got their ideas down, they've done the market research they need, and the location in which they want to start a business. Now, there are two business types, business to business or business to customers. Regardless of which path you choose, the type of business you want to open will impact the type of data you should use in your research, and that makes sense. Whether it's business that caters to other businesses or one that caters to the public, using census programs can provide that data. The question is the same for both. Who are your customers? You really want to know who your competitors are and who will be your suppliers. How Americans spend their leisure time. This chart is from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the American Time Use Survey, which was released in 2019. It's using 2015 to 2018 service years data. Now, it's a view of how Americans spend their leisure time for all days of the week. As you can see, the total leisure time is almost 5 hours a day. Now, some of the things I'd like to point out to you is that according to this survey, we spend almost 3 hours watching TV. Now, how does your household compare to that number? Something to think about. Only 18 minutes a day is spent participating in sports, exercise, and recreation. Now, based upon that information, I need to really spend more time on one of these events. And according to the data, on an average day, nearly everyone, that's everyone, ages 15 and over, which is 96% of those age groups, are engaged in some sort of leisure activity, such as watching TV, socializing, or exercising. I could not believe that we spent only 17 minutes a day relaxing or thinking. Yeah, perhaps some of the things people may be thinking about are their future or things they'd like to accomplish in life, but we definitely need to spend more time just relaxing. Now, this data was released on June 25th, 2020, again by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, again conducted by the American Time Use Survey. Now, it shows that we spend 30 minutes per day engaged in some form of sports, exercise, or recreation. So we've gained 12 minutes in the past year or two, which is great news. Now, men were slightly more likely than women to participate in sports, exercise, or recreation, according to this data. And on any given day, 21% of men participated more than that of 18% of women. Now, let's introduce our case study for this afternoon's presentation. So a couple living in the Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, or DMV, are going to go to dinner, and later they plan to go gambling, at a casino, maybe win some money. So during dinner, the couple discusses how they've always wanted to be entrepreneurs, and this might be the right time to give that more consideration. And during the discussion, they narrow down their interests and decide if the business they're talking about will be potentially fruitful in the United States. Well, after dinner, the couple goes gambling, and they hit it big. Now they're giving more thinking about becoming entrepreneurs. Their dreams may be coming true. Now, they know they need to do some research on this, and they plan to visit some, bookstores and libraries and to begin their research on starting a small business. They also realize they need some potential and pertinent data. Where might they get that? And, of course, where will the store be located? What other business could be their potential competitors? We have to know that. And what don't they know about starting a business, and how or where they can get that information? Before we go into more details about the couple starting a small business, let's note that the American Community Survey and Economic Census shows data variables for both business-to-business and business-to-customer businesses. Now, the couple has thought about it, and they want to open either a sporting goods store or a bicycle shop. Both use NAICS code 451110. So they're asking the question, what type of business? Is it business-to-business? No, it'll be business-to-customer. So other questions they need to consider would be, who will their primary and secondary people be who will actually go and have them as customers? Who will they be? They're thinking about this. And will the business, I think they want it within 20 miles of where the location is going to be. And they're primarily concerned about people who are biking to and from the workplace. That would be ideal for them. Now, Census has surveys and economic data that will be valuable for the business-to-customer businesses. We'll also see later how many Census programs, surveys, tools can assist customers with making better business decisions. Now, let's talk about the physical location the entrepreneurs should target. Now, the couple has narrowed down the business they want to pursue to bike shop with bike accessories. Upon speaking to a friend, they find that the Census Bureau has some data that will be helpful in making better decisions, such as populations. They are comparable to where they currently live in the D.C., Maryland, and Virginia areas. They're looking for areas with large percentages of bikers who use bikes as a mode of transportation to and from work. Now, during their investigation, they come across a helpful infographic using the American Community Survey data. Now, we're displaying the data from the Bike Work Week of 2019. When using this infographic, they see several cities with populations over 60,000 that have a high percentage of workers who are biking to and from work, which is what they want. Now, if you look at the infographic, you'll see that California holds the first, third, fourth, and fifth greatest percentage of people who bike to and from work, with the cities of Davis, Santa Cruz, Palo Alto, and Berkeley being the largest, especially when you compare those numbers to the Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia metropolitan area. So, based upon this information, do you think the customers should move outside of DMV to another city? Just something we need to think about. Well, the couple also heard of the Census webinar on starting a new business, and the presenters using the Census Business Builder, or CBB. Now, CBB is a suite of services that provide selected demographics and economic data from the Census Bureau, and is tailored to specific types of users in a simple-to-access and user format, which is really good. Small business owners can get key data for the business plan or data to better understand their potential markets. It also presents data for a single type of business or a single industry cluster. Most importantly, it's easy to use, and the user can select the location they want to research as well as nearby businesses so they know who their competitors are and what other businesses are in that area. Everyone knows about a business. It's location, location, location. And from that location, we have data that can give them a business leg up on everyone else in that area. CBB can help entrepreneurs find the best location to open their business using the Small Business Edition version 3.4. Adam will be giving us a demo about that in a few minutes. Now, after the webinar and the customer uses the Census Builder Small Business Edition version 3.4, and they look at similar data, it offers small businesses research for opening and expanding their business. It also takes a deeper dive into the different geographies using the county business pattern and non-employee statistics programs, as you'll see in the CBB demo. They can also compare the demographics and the geographies of the Washington, D.C., Maryland area against other counties and metropolitan areas as they did in California. Now, Adam will give us a demo on how easy it is for us to use the Census Business Builder data tool. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Melvina, for that great presentation about how these case study potential owners will be able to use this great data tool. So I'm going to go now onto the data tool, and by that, I'm going to go ahead and click on our share button. I'm sharing my screen for the Firefox location. And as you can see now, I've taken you to census.gov, our main URL. The way to get the Census Business Builder, or CBB, is going by Explore Data, Data Tools and Apps, and click on that button. Now, if I scroll down about a third of the way of the page, it's in alphabetical order, so luckily for us, we don't have to scroll too far to find Census Business Builder. And as Melvina mentioned, she has two different editions that we have from the Census Bureau, which is Small Business Edition, which is primarily for small business owners who want to either start a new business or expand their business, whereas Regional Analyst Edition is more for chambers of commerce and regional planning. So in this case, we're going to use Small Business Edition version 3.4. And you'll see in just a moment that the splash page is going to look very similar to the previous slide that we showed you before. Okay, we have our different radio buttons here for different types of businesses that you can potentially open. But if I know I'm my NAICS code, for example, 451110, or sporting goods stores, I can take a look at some of the different categories that are in that. Or I can type in sporting good stores, or sporting goods. And as I do that, it's going to repopulate on this dashboard. And it says it's no matching industries, but I know that's not true, so I'm going to go and try it one more time. And we can see NAICS 45111 or sporting goods stores. And you can see the first thing we've selected is sporting goods stores, and the first thing it'll tell us is the number of establishments in the United States, the number of physical locations of these sporting goods stores. If I click on the Find My Location button, that goes to the IP address on my computer. Okay, and since I'm using a census-issued laptop, I may not want to use that because it might go to where our headquarters is located. So in this case, I'm going to search a geography that's close to the Census Bureau with Montgomery County, Maryland, which I know is part of the DMV area. And now I'm going to click Go to Map. So as this data is populating, you can see the first thing we have here is Montgomery County, Maryland in a light blue outline. Okay. Now we're going to do a couple of different things to our map variables. So you can see we're selecting sporting goods stores, Montgomery County, Maryland, and total population. So the first variable I'm going to change is total population. I'm going to look at the businesses annual, make sure employers are selected, and click all employer establishments, and I'm going to select that variable. The next thing I'm going to do, and you can see the map is repopulating with the number of employer establishments and sporting goods stores in Montgomery County, Maryland. And now I'm going to select our secondary variable, which is a new addition to this version of Census Business Builder. I'm going to click Business Annual. Now the non-employers or non-employer firms, and these are the self-employed persons in the United States. Okay, so they don't have any paid employees. So I'm going to click Select Variable. From there, you can see the difference between the number of sporting goods stores for the employer establishments that have paid employees versus the non-employer firms. Now, I'm going to manipulate the data that's on this dashboard here by clicking on this little pencil icon. So the median household income might be something that will be of interest to me. But the percent high school degree or higher, I'm going to change that to something more about my customers. So I'm going to click my customers, and I'm going to click our socioeconomic characteristics, and I'm going to select the percent they're employed, okay? And I'm going to select that variable. You can see that repopulates on the map. So 67.8% in Montgomery County, Maryland are part of the employed percentage of the population. Now I'm going to select another detail about it by customers, our demographic characteristics, and I'm going to look for people that are in the working age, people that I know are going to be wanting to commute to work. Okay? So 53.8% age 25 to 64 in Montgomery County, Maryland. And now, if I do the total population and I select the change variable here, I'm going to do one last thing about consumer spending. On this tab, you can see there's a couple of different things. If I look at the amount of people that spend on entertainment, dining out, things like that, I can also drill down with any of these arrows by clicking on looking at how much people spend on these types of things. So if I want to capture everything for entertainment and recreation, which is our focus for today, I'm just going to select that first rated button and click Select Variable. Now, one of the new additions for CBB is the ability to select a metro area. So we talked about the DMV area. So if I select that metro tab and I reselect on the map where the DMV is, I can see that the Washington, Arlington, Alexandria, DC, VA, Maryland, West Virginia metro area. Dashboard closed, but that's not a problem because we can restore the dashboard here, and it's kept all of the same icons that we have here. The reason why consumer expenditures per household is not available is because it's not available at the metro level, but it was available at the county level. Now, as we looked in our case study, we were comparing these types of differences to the different counties and metro areas in California. So the way I can do that is by changing my location up here. So if I click on Change My Location, and I go to, let's say, Palo Alto, which was one of the cities that was in California on our infographic, and I click Change My Location, it's going to take me out to the West Coast. Okay? So now I can see I'm selecting city, town, but I really want to start at the county level first because I know with Census Bureau data, it might be a little bit easier for me to find county level data first. So if I do that and I expand my dashboard, you can see there's 86 employer establishments of sporting goods stores with 58 non-employer firms of sporting goods stores in Santa Clara County, California, which Palo Alto is a part of. Okay? So now I take a look at some of the things that I checked out. The median household income, the percent employed, percent working age of 25 to 64, and the consumer expenditures per household. All these things might be of interest to me. If I could select on metro area again, and I go into these different categories, and I select that same metro area and expand my dashboard, I'm getting a little bit more of the detail for this type of case study. So by looking at San Jose, Sunnyvale, Santa Clara, California metro area, I can take a look at some of the different rich detail that we can have in here. One of the great things about Census Business Builder is you can create your own report, which allows you to bring, a little bit more of our data into focus. Okay, so if we're looking at our metro area, this tells us about what types of things we find in this report. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of these different things. The first thing you'll see is my potential customers, or part 2. We look at the total population, percent male, percent female. Okay. But one of the charts that we see on right here is a percent male. If we click on any one of these things on the chart here that has the highlighted line graph icon, you'll see that it will change on the fly onto the report. Okay? As I continue to scroll down, it'll tell you where this data is coming from. So in this case, this is the American Community Survey 5-year estimates. And we can continue to look at, the percent in poverty. We could take a look at the percent with health coverage and the percent of carpool to work. That might be of great interest to us. If I click on that, it tells us the total number of percentage of people that carpool to work, okay? And so we're trying to get a better idea of the people that would want to commute to work. And in this case, use other means to work, commute to work. So in this case, they might be using a bicycle, a train, things like that. That would be of interest to these entrepreneurs. As we continue to scroll down, we look at the housing characteristics. This tells us how much people are spending on their homes around there. So it might be important for these entrepreneurs if they want to relocate their business. It tells us a business summary about our sporting goods stores. And again, like on the first menu, if we see an arrow next to it, we can obviously click down, and it gives us more of the breakdown of where these 88 total establishments and just how big these companies are. As we continue to scroll down, we get business revenue data, non-employer businesses, which I told you about just a moment ago, and the importance of non-employer businesses through our non-employer statistics program is it shows that, in some categories or sectors of the economy, the non-employers greatly outnumber the number of employer businesses. And I wrote an American Accounts article not too long ago that talked about 3/4 of all businesses in the United States do not have paid employees, and this is still true across many of the sectors of the economy. U.S. international trade in goods is not available because we would not want to export an entire sporting goods store location because that would just be very messy and unnecessary. A workforce location is also not available because it's not at the metro level. And quarterly businesses is also not available at the metro level. So you can continue to manipulate the data by looking at different counties within these metro areas in order to get the best results for your data. Okay? So now I'm going to go back to the presentation. And from there, I'm going to dive into more about what this potential couple could do as entrepreneurs using great programs such as the county business patterns and non-employer statistics, among other surveys and programs. So let's first start with CBP, or County Business Patterns. This program covers all employer businesses in the United States. Published on an annual basis with the 2019 data already have been released. It includes several great useful statistics that would be of importance to these entrepreneurs, such as the number of establishments, annual payroll, and this is for the pay period including March 12th. Okay, and the data are published at the national, state, metro, micropolitan statistical areas, or MSA, the county, congressional district, and zip code level. So a lot of rich detail that goes into detail for this one. And the data are also shown by employment size of the establishment and legal form of organization, or LFO. County Business Patterns data is available on data.census.gov, which is one of the data tools that we mentioned before. The Census Business Builder data tool, which I just demoed, the County Business Patterns website, and the Census API, among others. So why would this data be important for them? Well, it can be used by entrepreneurs and existing business owners to better understand their customers, okay, the business to customers or business to business, and learn about, the relationship that they have with this data. Employment size data can also be used to better understand the optimal final business size. How many employees do they need? How much do they have to pay these employees? And the legal form and organization data can help entrepreneurs plan for which legal form might be best for their type of business. And again, you can find more information about the County Business Patterns program at this link provided here. So let's take a look at some of this rich data from the County Business Patterns. We're taking a look at all establishments in the United States for sporting goods stores. So as we showed in the Census Business Builder, we showed there's 20,416 total establishments. The annual payroll in thousands of dollars is $5,455,523. So that would be actually $5 trillion or $5.5 trillion. Okay. The number of employees in the sporting goods industry is 239,004. You can see I've also highlighted in yellow the number of establishments with less than 5 employees, which for most of these sporting goods stores in the United States, that is the case. They have less than 5 employees. The data table that I pulled this from It can be found on CEDSI or data.census.gov right below here. All right, so now that I've covered county business patterns, we got to talk about the other sector there, or the other portion of the economy, which is non-employer businesses. These are our self-employed persons in the United States. So this is published also on an annual basis, and the latest data available as of today's date is for calendar year 2018. This includes statistics on the number of firms, revenue, and most 2 through 6 digit NAICS codes. It's published at the national, state, MSA, and county levels. So again, that's our micropolitan and metropolitan areas. It does not cover the 5 major U.S. territories, much like the economic census of island areas and county business patterns does. But the data are shown by revenue size of the firm, which is also very important to understand, and also legal form of organization. But again, that's only at the national and state level. If you're looking for more granular detail at the county or city level, you won't be able to find that in non-employer statistics. But you will be able to find it at the national and state level, which is also very important for your research. The data is available on data.census.gov, Census Business Builder, the NES website that we show up here, and the Census API, among other data tools. So much like county business patterns, NES data can be used by entrepreneurs and existing business owners to understand their potential customers. So these are the customers that the businesses that maybe don't have any paid employees, but they are still these mom and pop shops that, are using our data in order to make informed decisions. So this just tells about the importance of our great data at the Census Bureau. So looking at sporting goods stores, hobby, and musical instrument stores, so a little bit shorter of a breakout for NAICS 4511, or the 4-digit level, you can see the total number of establishments in the United States was 62,965. Okay, so much larger than what we saw earlier, which was the number of employer establishments. But again, this is at the 4-digit level, so it will include more industries such as hobby stores and musical instrument stores. And the non-employer sales or value of shipments and revenue is in $3.0 trillion as we round up. And the data table that I pulled right here from CEDSI can be found below. Okay, so what should the other potential business owners use the economic census data? This is our quinquennial survey, or years ending in 2 and 7, and this survey is the foundation for the measurement of U.S. businesses, and it also helps us understand the economic impact. So this survey shows, what data has been released by the state, metro area, county, and economic place levels, and also national level geographies. So the importance of the economic census comes from our great respondents that respond to these surveys and tells us what information we can provide back to help these business owners as well. So let's take a look at the economic census. This covers all employer businesses in the United States. As I mentioned before, it's published every 5 years. The most recent data, as of June 2021, or last month, was for calendar year 2017. 2017 data are being released through this fall. So we're almost towards the end of the economic census data releases, but there's still a few more great data to come out. It includes a lot of number of establishments, employment, payroll, shipments for establishments of firms with paid employees, among many other great data details. Data is published for the geography levels of state, metro area, county, economic place levels, and also the national level. The Econ Census of Island Areas, or the ECIA, also covers the 5 major U.S. territories. The other facts about the economic census are the data is available on data.census.gov, Census Business Builder, the Econ Census website, among the Census API, among other things. Okay, so the economic census data in action. Let's take a little bit more of a look at what we saw in Census Business Builder. So for Santa Clara County, California, we had this types of data about our, median household income, and again, the employer establishments will be giving us data from both county business patterns as well as, the economic census, among other things, for different data variables along the way. So the great thing about Census Business Builder is it provides you the most up-to-date data available from the Census Bureau. So let's study who the other business owners are. They're looking at bike stores, bike parts, and sporting goods stores and their business owners. What could be the annual gross for some of these similar businesses? How much will they need to pay their employees? And how many businesses of sporting goods, or specifically bike shops, are in the vicinity of their location. So they're still mulling over these different situations. So enter the Annual Business Survey Program. More information about the ABS, or the Annual Business Survey. It covers all employer businesses in the United States, but there is a new annual non-employer demographic statistics which covers the non-employers. We're getting both of those great information. The Annual Business Survey is published on an annual basis. So as of today's date of July 2021, it's for data year 2018. The 2019 survey year data are scheduled for release by the end of 2021. This Annual Business Survey data includes the number of firms, employment, annual payroll, and revenue for nearly every 2 through 6-digit code. And that was for data year 2018. For the 2019 survey year, data will be published at the national, state, county, and place level data. The Annual Business Survey does not cover the 5 U.S. territories, much like the non-employer statistics, but the Econ Census of Island areas does cover that data. So another great thing about the Annual Business Survey is it's shown by the business owner's race, ethnicity, sex, veteran status of these business owners. The Annual Business Survey data can be used by entrepreneurs and existing business owners to either grow or expand their business, learn about the other potential customers, their competitors, and also their suppliers. And the NESD, this is the non-employer business part of it, also has demographics at the sex, ethnicity, race, and veteran status. And this is made possible through administrative records and census data. So more information about the Annual Business Survey and the NESD are available at this link provided here, as well as data.census.gov, Census Business Builder for just Annual Business Survey only at this moment. But we are under consideration and always listening to our data users to think about whether or not we want to incorporate the NESD into more data tools and sources. So looking at sporting goods stores in NAICS 451110 in the United States, you can see a couple of different things of interest. So the total number of employer firms from survey year 2017 is for the 16,402. Of those employer firms, you can see 15,591 of those business owners classified themselves as white. Okay. Now the number of employees also of interest is 117,923 of the white business owners in this category of sporting goods stores industries. You also have our annual payroll here, which is about $2.7 trillion. And also we're looking at non-veterans. Non-veterans definitely outweigh the number of sporting goods store owners than the veterans. So a lot of great rich details provided in the Annual Business Survey. And this is just a taste of the data that you can get by looking at census.gov resources. Our Spotlight survey for today is the Annual Survey of Manufacturers. We select a different Spotlight survey for each of the webinars, and in this case, the Annual Survey of Manufacturers made the most amount of sense for our case study for today. So the ASM was established in 1949, provides timely economic information about our manufacturing sector. This is NAICS 31 through 33. Except for Econ Census years. So years ending in 2 and 7, like I mentioned, the economic census, more rich detail are published on the manufacturing sector as courtesy of the economic census. So the business type coverage, it covers approximately 50,000 establishments and is drawn every 5 years. The sample begins 2 years after the economic census years. And it's an establishment-based survey. It provides great estimates for all manufacturing establishments with 1 or more paid employees. And the geographic level is at for the U.S. and state level. And again, like I mentioned, the manufacturing sector is NAICS 31 through 33. So what are some of the data variables that are collected and published that might be of interest to business owners? Well, we have statistics for industry groups, industries, and geographic area statistics. We take a look at the number of employment of these manufacturing places that they might be getting some of the parts for the bike shop, the number of hours, benefits, receipts, inventories, and capital expenditures, among other things. Also, the value of product shipments. And just of note, for the survey year starting with 2018 through 2019, ASM include NAPS product data, and that's the North American Product Classification System, or it's published on that level. So if we look at motorcycle, bicycle, and parts manufacturing, our 33691 is our NAICS code. For the United States, we see for the 2018 year of ASM, in thousands of dollars, we have $6.6 trillion of sales for these types of manufacturing places. The number of employees in 2018 for the ASM was an estimated 9,373 employees. In 2019, $6.2 trillion of sales for motorcycle, bicycle, and parts manufacturing, where they had 9,274 number of employees. So even though the employment went down and the sales went down, it's still an industry of interest to these potential business owners. So other tools to access key data. Okay, one of the other things that they might want to use, these potential entrepreneurs that we made up for this case study, is taking a look at monthly retail trade and food services, looking at our economic indicators data, our monthly data. So looking at the monthly retail trade and food services for sporting goods stores for January 2019 through December 2021. Also looking at USA Trade Online. If they're looking for an importer or exporter for these bike parts, they might want to use USA Trade Online, which is free to use. All you have to do is create a free account, and you can use USA Trade Online to get more statistics about that type of information. So now, I'm going to turn the presentation back over to my colleague, Melvina Brown, to help us walk us through the last parts of our case study. Melvina, thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Wow, that was a great demo and a lot of good information. As you can see, the couple has a lot of census survey program and tools at their resource. The Census Business Builder will help them view geographic areas in the United States and 2 major metro areas of their interest. The County Business Patterns had their annual data on employer businesses. The non-employer statistics gave them information on self-employed businesses in the United States. The business owner-related data was very helpful and is published by the Annual Business Survey Program. The Annual Survey of Manufacturers gave them timely economic information about the manufacturing sector, as Adam said, 31 to 33, on an annual basis. They also gained some knowledge of several ways to access other census data, again, from easy to difficult, using some of the data tools as Quick Facts, My Congressional District, Census Business Builder, and data.census.gov, or CIDSI. The couple has reviewed the data that was relevant using the census programs and surveys, and they have enough information now to help them make better decisions about the entrepreneur prospects, and we wish them much success. Now, before turning over to Linda, I want to thank Adam for presenting this seminar with me, and here's Adam's and my contact information should you have any questions. Thanks, Adam. Thank you, Linda, for hosting this seminar. Now I'll turn it back over to Linda, who will give us a final wrap-up and open up the phone lines for Q&A session. Thank you, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Adam and Melvina, for the wonderful presentation on our business programs as they relate to leisure activities and how to access the data. Thank you, everyone, for your interest in our data and for attending today's webinar. Before we begin our Q&A, please take note of the contact information listed on our slide here for our data dissemination specialists. This is for anyone who may be interested in a hands-on in-person training. We have specialists assigned by geography that will be able to assist with this service. Also, in our virtual room today, we have several subject matter experts to help answer your questions. So you may be hearing several new voices in addition to my own, Adam's and Melvina. And as a reminder, we are focusing our Q&A on today's topic, and we will be accepting questions related to today's topic. If you have questions on other topics, please feel free to send an email to us at census.askdata@census.gov. And now we'd like to open up our phone line for the Q&A portion of this session. Let's check in with our operator. Kristen, at this time, do we have questions in the queue?
Not at this time, but if you would like to ask a question over the phone, please press star and then 1. Please unmute your phone and record your name clearly when prompted. Your name is required to introduce your question. Please ask one question with one follow-up. Again, to prompt for a question, please press star 1.
So while we're waiting for the operator to queue up our questions, I do want to mention that if you have not already seen it, we have a COVID-19 data hub that pulls together census data on the pandemic in one central location. You'll be able to find out how the COVID-19 pandemic has affected businesses and households alike in one location. Let's check back in with our operator again.
And there are no questions in queue at this time.
Okay. Adam and Melvina, we do not have questions in the chat that have not been addressed.
Okay, I think I see one pop-up possibly coming in for a chat question, so I just want to make sure we address that one too. Can you read that for us?
I do not see that one. I don't in the slide. Are you referring to the one about how to classify activities for leisure time? I don't see on my end. I don't see a new question.
Okay. Well, maybe it's just a question that was addressed by one of our subject matter experts or SMEs. So I just want to thank everyone again for attending today. And if there's no additional questions, we will give you back some of your afternoon. And both Melvina and I and Linda are greatly appreciative of everyone attending today. And just a reminder that this webinar was recorded in case you want to share it with other people at a future date. That will be posted on census.gov.
Thank you, everyone. This concludes our presentation. Have a great day.